Hey barbecue family, Kenyatta Robinson here. So what we're looking at is a pork belly. Actually, this is half of the pork belly that I cured for 10 days. This is my first time doing this. I'm going to put it in the smoker and turn this beautiful slab of pork belly into hickory smoked bacon. I want to give a shout out to Jeff Phillips. His Smoking Meat channel is where I saw this recipe, this process. Very straightforward, looked like something I could do, so I decided to give it a shot. So let me just run through the steps. I picked up a full slab of pork belly at Sam's Club. They usually carry it, or you might find it at Costco. And the first thing you need to do with the pork belly is to cure it. So the brine is comprised of 1 gallon of cold water. You put it into a large stock pot, and then you add the following ingredients. About 1 heaping tablespoon of curing salt, number 1, half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of dark brown sugar, and half a cup of coarse kosher salt. Stir the mixture for a couple of minutes until everything is dissolved in the water. And then to make this more manageable, I cut my pork belly slab in half, and I'm putting them into 2 large containers. I found a couple of 1.5 gallon size food storage containers on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. I took my brine and poured half of it into each container, and that's what I'm using for each slab of pork belly. Now you need to let the pork belly brine for 10 days. And so at the end of every day, I went out to the refrigerator and I flipped the slabs over to make sure that all of that pork belly is getting absorbed, is absorbing the brine. After the 10-day period ended, I then removed the pork belly from the brine and I cut off a sliver because I wanted to taste it to make sure that the salt content was okay. So basically you take your sliver of pork belly, you fry it up, and then if you find that the bacon is too salty, pour out the brine from the container and then replace it with cold water. Put the pork belly back into the cold water, let it sit for 4 to 6 hours, and then that should help dissolve that saltiness from your pork belly. Give it another taste test. And then if it's still too salty, repeat the process with fresh water, and then keep doing this process until you get the bacon to where you want it to be and not too salty for you and your family. So your pork belly sat in that brine for 10 days. It took on a lot of water. So what we want to do is we want to try and dry it out as much as we can before we put it on the smoker. So pat the outside of the meat dry with paper towels, and then put it back on a pan with a rack like what I have here. Put it back in the fridge for at least 24 hours, and that's where I'm at right now. So what we're looking at is one of my 2 pork belly slabs. It sat in the fridge, it's all good to go, it's nice and dried out. Today I'm going to use my Mac 1-star General pellet smoker. I'm going to smoke this pork belly at 180 degrees, so I set my Mac to the smoke setting. I'm using hickory pellets, but you can use maple, apple, cherry, pecan, basically whatever you like. You can do a combination. Today I'm just going to go straight hickory. Now I'm expecting these pork bellies to generate a lot of grease, so I'm going to go ahead and leave them in the pans. Basically I'm just using some parchment paper here to hopefully, contain some of the grease. It may even overflow, but at least this will make the cleanup a little bit easier. We're looking for it to get up to 145 degrees in the thickest part. So after a couple of hours, I may rotate the position of the pork bellies, put this one on top, put this one on bottom, just to kind of even things out. and I'll let you guys know if this turns out as good as I think it will. All right, barbecue family, it's been almost 2 hours. Let's take a peek. All right, I'm not really seeing very much visible change. Maybe a little bit here on the fat on the edges. But I'm gonna go ahead and switch the position of these two bellies. And just looking at it, I also don't see, I see very little grease, if any at all, forming. So this fat has not yet begun to render. But you know, again, we're smoking this at 180, so it's a process. So I'm gonna give it a lot more time before I take another look. We'll check back, see if we notice any noticeable difference after, let's say at the 5-hour mark. All right, guys, it's been a little bit more than 5 hours. I just wanted to take a look and see. Okay, now it's starting to look a little bit more like bacon. You can see it's picking up that color. Nice smoke color is definitely giving it some more of a kind of that deep pinkish hue that you're used to seeing. See if I can get a little bit closer. All right, so I like the way it's looking. It's progressing pretty nicely. I'm gonna let it go for about another hour, and then I'll start checking the temperature to see if we've hit 145 internal. All right, barbecue family, so I just wanted to give you a look at these pork bellies after 9 hours. I just took the temperature on them. Now, the one that we're looking at here on the bottom, this one has reached 145 internal. Let's get a better look. Get a better look at that. It is beautiful. So that's after 9 hours. One thing that surprised me, and I guess when I thought more about it, not nearly as much grease as I anticipated, and I guess that's because, you know, we're only smoking this at 180 degrees, so it's not hot enough for that fat to render out until I actually fry it. So that was a learning lesson for me. And then here's a look at the other slab. Now this one hasn't quite reached 145 internal, so I'm gonna leave this one on the smoker. It's at about 125. So they did cook at a different pace. But again, we're not cooking to time, we're cooking to temperature. All right, so I'm going to get the one on the bottom off of the smoker. I'm gonna put it in the fridge overnight. And then in the morning, when I am ready to slice through it, before I slice it, I think I will freeze it. I'm gonna put it in these large jumbo-sized Ziploc bags, freeze it for a couple of hours. That'll make it much easier to slice, you know, this entire slab up. The bacon turned out to be even better than I expected. I mean, it was really good. I'm going to be doing this moving forward. I really don't see any reason to go back to buying store-bought bacon. There are so many advantages to doing bacon yourself. The process is really easy. You can decide which hardwood to smoke with to control that smoke flavor profile. You can also make adjustments to make your bacon less salty if you'd like. It's really about being patient, giving the bacon 10 days to cure, then smoke it at a low temperature around 180 degrees until it reaches an internal temp of 145. And then when it's time to slice, you have the control. You can make the slices as thin as you want or as thick as you want. So lots of advantages of doing bacon yourself. So what do you think? Is this a process that you think you'll give a shot at home? Have you made bacon already? How did it turn out? Leave a comment. I always love hearing from you guys. If you liked the video, do me a favor, hit that like button, share the video, tell a friend about it. Once again, this is Kenyatta Robinson thanking you for joining me on my Backyard Smokemaster Barbecue channel. Get out there, use your barbecue grills and smokers. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.